collective push to take control away from the Republican National Committee, the RNC, after last week's widely criticized event on CNBC. A campaign seeking major changes in the format and the ground rules. Dr. Ben Carson talking about the reason for having a debate in the first place.
The real purpose is to allow the voters to have an opportunity to see what's behind each of the candidates. If you make that the goal, that will help you define how the debate should go. And some of the things that we've seen recently, that certainly was not the goal.
Wow. Chief Political Correspondent Carl Cameron live in Washington on this. And Carl, good morning to you. What can they change, if anything, as of today?
Oh, they can change lots of things, but it's important to realize there are really two very specific, different kinds of complaints going on here. The first is about bias, and you heard Ben Carson talking about that. They're tired of getting all the gotcha questions and questions that require a show of hands. They want those to go away. The separate issue is the format, and that's something considerably different. Donald Trump and Ben Carson are the sparks behind this. They were able to get the CNBC debate limited to 2 hours instead of CNN's 3-hour marathon just last week, and the one before the previous one, the second one. After the meeting of the campaigns yesterday, Carson's campaign manager summed up their demands this way. Watch.
The one thing that everybody agreed upon is there will be opening and closings. There will be editorial control of graphics. And we also want a formula somehow, the equalization of the questions asked to all the candidates. So you can't just, don't invite somebody on the stage and ignore them for 2 hours.
Last night's so-called family dinner was actually the first time all the candidates got together, their campaign staffers. There were a couple of no-shows, but it was the first big gathering, and they really kind of seemed to enjoy it. The RNC definitely was not invited, and the candidates are very frustrated because last year, the National Republican Party said it was absorbing the debates into their nomination process, something that has never happened before. They wanted to try to control the debates in the early voting states and elsewhere. So now Carson and Trump, who did face gotcha questions, and some of the senators and governors who got very few questions or gotchas in the second tier particularly, they want changes. The RNC chairman casts himself as the candidate's advocate, not their enemy, and disputes being kept on the outs. Watch.
There's 14 campaigns, and so, it takes a few people, I guess, to create a narrative. But no, the truth is we're involved, we're in control, we're setting the calendar. In fact, if what happens from last night goes forward, I think it's exactly where we want to be.
The candidates plan to send a letter to the networks today or tomorrow with their demands. It will not impact the FBN debate next week. The RNC has shifted a staff member and now put somebody new officially in charge of working on the debates with the networks. Trump and Carson have threatened to boycott if some of their demands are not met, again with the exception of next week's FBN debate, if they don't get some kind of changes. The others, however, think that it's probably best not to whine too much. You got folks like Christie and Fiorina and Marco Rubio saying they're going to come to the debates. You got to be able to deal with gotcha questions if you're going to deal with people like Putin.
Yeah, Christie said that this morning. Thank you, Carl Cameron in Washington, for that. You bet.